The topic today is how to be highly effective. And we're focusing on transformation. Transformation train. Every topic, everything we're teaching in the world, it comes back to transformation. Transformation is pivotal. It is crucial in what we're doing. Because if you have not transformed yourself, it is absolutely difficult for you to transform other people. It is absolutely difficult for you to impact and influence your world. So that's why transformation is always occurring. It's always coming up. First and foremost, see, I do tell people, look, if you don't embrace the challenges, you can't see the opportunity. You see, the fruit of challenge, obstacle, is opportunity. So the fruits of challenge is opportunity. So the opportunity is at the end of the way. It's the opposite side of a challenge. So the main thing is the opportunity. But for you to reap the fruit of this opportunity, you got to embrace your challenge. So you can't run away from your challenge and you expect to receive opportunity. So what happens is that we don't want challenge. We don't want obstacle. But we are closing doors of opportunity. We are closing, doors of, wealth and success. Because that is how it is. Challenge and opportunities, they coexist. They are part of life. So no matter how, you can't run away from it. So you might as well start embracing your challenges. Embrace them, love them, and get on with it. At the end of the tunnel, at the end of the opposite end of the tunnel, you get the opportunity. But you keep on postponing it. You keep on escaping from it. If you escape from the challenges, the opportunities will escape from you. So is a one side of a coin. Is the flip side of a coin. So challenge is necessary, but most of us don't like it. So, but if you don't like it, well, that's good for you, because you're not gonna see the opportunity. Because the opportunity is waiting for you at the end of the challenge. The challenge, brings up the opportunity. The challenge, empowers you. But we think the challenge and obstacles are there to frustrate us. But they're not. So until you learn to love challenges, until you learn to love things that challenge you, that challenge your mind, things that will help your mind, the old mind, to go away. I'm talking about transformation today because transformation is very, very important, because we fill ourselves with the old minds, old things in the mind. So we have a lot of things in the mind, and these things are old. Until we break away from this pattern, we can't move forward. We can't see the challenge. Until we break away from the pattern, that is the patterns that are not serving us anymore, then we're not going to have any challenge. We're not going to be successful. We're not going to make it. Because, you see, you cannot impact the world. You can't influence the world until you change yourself, until you change the pattern already. See, the basic thing is about yourself. It's not about others. It is about yourself. Change yourself. If you change yourself, change the pattern of yourself, the pattern you've taken in for a long time, until you break it down, then you cannot break the wall. You cannot influence, you cannot impart, and you cannot change things. So the first step is change yourself. Nelson Mandela said it 11 times. You cannot impart on your society unless you yourself, have changed. So there was a story of Mahatma Gandhi. A woman brought his son to Mahatma Gandhi to advise, because the son has been taking a lot of sugar. You know, he has become a sugar addict, and the hospital has, you know, predicted that, look, if he continues to take sugar this way, he's gonna develop diabetes and probably he's gonna die. So this late woman knew Mahatma Gandhi. She knew him to be an influential person. Then she brought Mahatma Gandhi brought this boy to Mahatma Gandhi to give his son advice. So the day he brought the son to Mahatma Gandhi and told Mahatma Gandhi, look, my son is in danger of dying. He's taking sugar. I've told him to stop sugar. I've told him to stop. The doctors have told him, and he's not listening. And I know you are an intelligent man. That's why you are a wise man. That's why I brought my son to you, to give him advice. Do you know what Mahatma Gandhi said? Mahatma Gandhi said, look, first and foremost, you have to go home. Come back in 2 weeks. So in good faith, this woman took his son back home. After 2 weeks, they came back to Gandhi again. So Gandhi told the woman, do you know why I asked you to take your son back? The woman said he doesn't know. So he said, look, when you brought your son, I was still taking sugar. Myself, I was taking sugar. So I had to ask you to go back so that I stop taking sugar and feel it and see how it is before I can advise your son. So, son, stop taking sugar. The woman was worried, said, you would have told us that day that, look, my son, you should stop taking sugar. And that's all. Instead of telling us to go back and come back in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Just to tell my son, stop taking sugar. So the woman didn't understand Mahatma Gandhi. She didn't understand that, look, you cannot advise somebody on something which you are a victim of. So first and foremost, you have to change yourself. You have to transform yourself in order to transform other people. So I cannot give you advice on what I'm a victim or what is conquering me. So that's the problem we have in leadership today. The problem we have in the world today is that we have leaders who have not transformed themselves, who still have old minds, who have who have enemies in their mind. So how can you advise? How can you change people, change the society, if you yourself is still a victim of what the society is against? So you are a corporate and you are advising me, it's not going to work. So that is the basics of everything. That's the problem we have now today, because we have leaders who are coming to tell you to change, but they've not changed themselves. So you got to change for you to be impactful. So the first thing is the transformation. This transformational aspect of our life. You got to change it. You got to change the pattern of your thinking. Because until you change the pattern of your thinking, you cannot be impactful. You cannot influence your society. So the question is about changing. Not tell people to change. Change yourself. Let's start changing ourselves first. They say charity begins at home. You have to, break down the barriers that is already holding you to ransom. Then when you must have broken them up, then to conquer the world, it becomes easy. So you have to first conquer yourself. If you don't conquer yourself, there's no way you can conquer other people. So this thing I'm teaching today is very, very important, because you cannot learn in the school, because the school is not going to tell you to conquer yourself. It's not going to tell you to transform. It's not going to tell you to do what the school will tell you how to do something. But you cannot do that unless you are able to do it yourself, unless it comes from within. So the fight is within rather than outside. So wherever you go, there are challenges. The challenges is because the people have not transformed themselves. So we got to transform ourselves. So like Gandhi said, you got to change. You are taking sugar, but you're advising me not to take sugar. How does it work? You are corrupt and you're advising me not to be corrupt. It doesn't work like that. So that's why the basis of all we're teaching is about transformation. It is about the fight within, because we've been made enemy to our minds. There is a conflict in our mind. That conflict, until you have the courage to break away from the pattern of the old ways of thinking, because what is holding you in the shell, what is holding you down, is the pattern of knowledge you've acquired, either from your parents, from your environment, from your school, from any other thing. And you've made yourself, to develop limitation. And until you break the chain, you cannot impact the society. You can't influence the society. That is the problem we have today. We have leaders who still have old minds. So they are carrying their mind about. They are carrying wickedness. They are carrying corruption about. And they say they want to change the society. They can't change it. There is no way you can change it. I bet you. Because that's a simple process. That is a natural process. A seed, for it to germinate, it has to break itself. It has to break away from the past. It has to break away from, the things that held it bound. So the same thing applies to you and I. We have to break away from the old habits, from the wickedness, from the corruption, from the pride, from lack of humility, from, you have to break away all these things. Until you've broken them, you can't engage, you can't influence, and you can't change, and you can't impose on anything. So you can't change things. So people who change things are people who have transformed themselves. Like I said, Nelson Mandela said, there is no way you can impact on your society unless you've changed yourself. So the question is not going to school. The question is not going to school. The question is changing yourself. So the question, going to school does not make you a leader. Listening to me does not make you a leader. What makes you a leader is you yourself breaking down the barrier that is already inside of you, that has imprisoned you. Because unless you are able to break this barrier that has made you a slave, you cannot impart. You cannot change. You will see yourself as a pauper. You see yourself as somebody who has limitation until you understand what I'm saying, that having that courage to break away from things that are no longer serving you. Like hatred is no longer serving us in the world today. Racism is no longer serving us in the world today. Wickedness is no longer serving us today. Greed, jealousy, they are no longer serving us. So we've got to break away from those things. And that's why St. Paul said you got to transform yourself. You got to renew your mind. Renew your mind is about transformation. And once you are transformed, you can't go back. It's like you heading a plow and then start looking back. It doesn't work like that. So the key thing is the transformational aspect of our being. That is what I'm talking about today. How do we transform? Because if you don't understand this, there's no way you can change yourself. The battle within us is more powerful than the battle outside. So outside is not a problem. To influence the society is not a problem. But you can't do that without developing the emotional intelligence. You can't do that without developing yourself. So self-education, self-development is always the key. So going to school to acquire a degree does not make you a great person. Going to school to do whatever you think you are doing there cannot make you a leader. So, because the leadership is something beyond what you learn in the school. It's beyond what I'm talking to you now. So, until you come to the realization that, look, time has come for you to change yourself in order to change the society. You see, before you start embarking on a mission, you got to, weigh it down. You got to do the analysis. You got to check, like now, I want to build a house. I have to check whether I have the wherewithal, whether I have the money, whether I have to do this, to do that. That is the basis. That is the basic thing we do. And that basis means that we first of all we have to be transformational. We have to be introspective. So when you are analyzing, estimating things within you, you are being introspective. You are checking, can I do this? Am I capable of doing that? Am I capable of doing this? So, because if you want to build something, let's say you want to build a house, you first of all have to sit down. Am I going to be upstairs or am I going to be downstairs? Then if I want to build upstairs, do I have the money? Do I have enough money? Do I have enough courage? Do I have enough will? Do I have all these things? Do you have, the enough money that will help you build it? So when you are asking yourself this question, you are being introspective. And if you apply it, you are being transformational. So you are trying to ask yourself a question. You see, that's why they said unexamined life is not worth living. So by the time you are examining yourself, you are going through the process of transformation. You are breaking the barriers. You are having the courage to break the barriers that are holding you to ransom, that are telling you, look, you got a sense of limitation. Like 2 days ago, I wrote in my wall, I said, I do not have any sense of limitation. That my father taught me how to believe in my potential. And then my mother taught me how to have faith in my God. That's simply all the thing I'm talking about. You see, for you to have this kind of mentality whereby you are not held bound, you develop, you have a sense of that you don't have limitation, then you got to, break up the internal wall that is inside of you. You got to be introspective. Like I use building up a house. If you want to build a house, you have to check, sit down. Jesus Christ even said it. Is there anybody that wants to build a house or build something? He doesn't sit back and do the analysis. Do I have up to 1 million? Do I have up to 20,000? Do I have up to 1,000? Do I have up to 20 pounds? Do I have up to 29? Depending on the currency of the money. So when you are doing all these things, you are obeying the natural law. The natural law is that charity begins at home. The natural law means you have to break the bond. You have to break the barrier. You have to, have the courage to break the barrier in order to come out. Because once you've come out, to build it is easy. So if you've done the analysis, you got the money, you got everything, then to build it is easy. So the same thing applies to you. If you want to influence the society, you have to sit back and say, wow, do I have the emotional intelligence? Do I have the passion? Do I have the courage? Do I have the insight? So while these things are going in your mind, then it's giving you energy and the courage to break the barriers, to break the bonds, to break the fear. We are burdened with fears. We have old mindsets. We have old things in our mind. We have hatred in our mind. We have, fear. And that fear will not let us fly. So it is a simple thing. You don't need to go to school to learn this thing. And that's why I'm not going to teach you, if you're expecting me to teach you what you learned in the school, I'm not going to teach you that because it's a waste of my time. Because if I'm teaching you what everybody knows, I'm not imparting. So it is my wish and it is my intention to impart to you. It is my intention to let you know that, look, you got to be introspective. You have to assess things. You have to weigh it. Am I able to do this? Do I have the emotional intelligence? Then if I don't have the emotional intelligence, that means I have to go to the drawing board, learn a lot of things, and then come back. So that is simply the natural way to do things, because if you don't understand this, we can't talk of transformation. Transformation is about introspection. It is about being introspective. It's about examining yourself. Because we already have enemies in our mind. There's a conflict in our mind, the opposite in conflict. The mind is not letting us, be steady. The mind is not letting us to have the clarity. So until you have the courage to break the barriers are like fears. The barriers are like hatred. The barriers are like sense of limitation. You are telling yourself that you don't deserve this. You are telling yourself you are not this. You are telling yourself you can't do this. All these things are barriers you got to break. Until you step away from this mental and slave thinking that, look, you have limitation. A human being has no limitation. There is nothing we cannot achieve because God made us in his own image. And having made us in his own image, there is nothing we cannot achieve. I am telling you. Anything you set your mind, you will achieve it. But first of all, you have to break the barrier. You have to break the ideology, the philosophy that tells you, look, you have limitation. A human being has no limitation except the one you place on yourself. So whenever you want to do something, go ahead and do it. You have no limitation. You don't have to have a sense of limitation. Is the what I call, the evil thinking that tells you, look, you can't do this. So that's why, because he has told you this, when you see challenge that paves way to your opportunity, you shrink. Yeah, I am what I am today because I didn't run away from the challenges. I didn't escape from the challenges. So once you escape from your challenges, your difficulties, you are preventing yourself from reaping the fruit of challenges. And that fruit of challenges, the fruits of challenges are opportunities. And opportunities are the flip side of the coin. So the opposite of night is day. So the day is the opportunity. The night is the challenge. So the day follows the night. So if there is no night, there is no day. So the same thing applies. We are afraid of challenges. We don't want to embark on anything. We can't contemplate action and carry it out because we are so scared. We are worried. We become nervous because what people will say, what your friends are going to talk, what your brother are going to talk. But for goodness sake, you have only this world to become what you are. You are only here to shine. You are not here to shrink. So why will you be shrinking? Why would you can hate people as much as that. It doesn't make them not to do what they want to do. So don't allow people, to project their fears, to project their weakness, to project their insecurity on you and preventing you from becoming who you are. Like me, people may not like what I'm saying, but they cannot stop me. Because I know that hatred is natural. It is something we see every day. So And that empowers me. Just like gravity. Without gravity, the aircraft will not take off and it will not come back. So gravity is the key. So challenge is the key. Challenge is the opportunity. So is what you've been given. So in this world, we don't have to complain. Because if you're complaining, you're being immature. And immaturity is what is killing our leaders today, because they have been given an assignment to embark on something, and then they turn back to complain when they have the resources, when they have everything. So complaining means you are not embracing the challenges. You don't seem to understand the philosophy of life, that challenge paves way to opportunity. Challenge is a flip side of opportunity. Embrace it, love it. It was put in another way by Christ. He says, love your enemy. So now, why do you have to hate your enemy? Tell me. Hating your enemy is counterproductive. It's like saying you don't want the bath water, but you want the baby. The bath water and the baby, they go hand in a glove. So if you don't want the bath water, you might as well do not look for the baby. Do not embrace the baby. Say, I don't want the baby. But so long as you want a baby, you must have the bath water. So it's a choice. So the word is a choice. So the choice of standing up on your feet, the choice of saying, this is what you want to do, and then the choice of not doing it. So if you are complaining about this world, you are being immature. You are being naive, because the world is built on challenges. So you got to embrace it. That's why Christ told you, look, you have to love your enemy. You can't escape it. There is no escape route towards this. So no matter how much you try, you have to love your enemy. You got to love your challenges. So now, if you want to do something, you got to break away from that fear. The fear of what my father will say. The fear of what my sister will say. The fear of what my mother will say. The fear of what my colleagues will say. Man, to hell with what they're going to say. What they're going to say are irrelevant. They don't apply. In fact, the more they say you can't do it, the more you have the opportunity to do it. See, they provide you the manure. They provide you they are the catalyst that empowers you. So if you are not listening to me, you are empowering me. Imagine, I've been doing this for almost 8 years now, non-stop. So because for the fact that you don't like it, it's telling me that you don't understand the philosophy of life. You don't understand that, look, what you don't like is what you see. So I'm going to give it to you, because that's how life is. So you got to love your enemy. You got to love your challenges. Like now, when I'm jogging, sometimes people ask me, why do you jog? I said, look, I enjoy it. I have to embrace it. I know for me to be fit, I got to pay in. There must be sacrifice. But the problem is that we don't want to pay that sacrifice. And once you don't want to pay it, then you might as well forget everything about it. So, challenge is a way of understanding. It's a way of getting into their being. It's a way of developing. I do ask people, say, do you think God wasn't wise when he took the children of Israelites, he lifted them from Egypt and placed them in the wilderness? So why didn't he place them in the promised land? Have you ever asked yourself that question? So the person who can lift you from your bondage, are you telling me he cannot lift you to your promised land? He wouldn't do that. If he does it, that means he's spoon feeding you. If he does it, that means you cannot appreciate it. The reason why we don't appreciate what we have is that because we've never been to the wilderness. We've never been to the desert. So if you have water and then you had not had a place where there was no water, you won't appreciate the water. So people who appreciate things are people who went through deserts, who went through the wilderness. So the life you don't appreciate today because you didn't know how the life came to be given to you. Because if you had known the suffering, the rigor, and what it means to have life, you won't throw them away. You won't waste them. So we are like a child. We are not. We think life is a bed of roses. Life is not a bed of roses. Even the roses, you see, they have thorns. So you cannot transform or impart the society without first of all transforming yourself. Because the problem is that we don't want to transform ourselves. Then we lack the potential, we lack the passion, we lack the courage, we lack the vigor to change the society. So if you don't change yourself, how can, look at now, if you want to build something now, a steel has to go through the furnace. The iron, a steel is an iron that is made of other components. It had to go through the furnace. So through the furnace, it is building up. So the people of Israelites, they had to go to the wilderness for them to build up. For you to train your muscles, just like you want to go for boxing, you didn't train. So how are you going to win it? You got to train before you can give a jab and give a hook and defeat the whole thing. So it's still the same thing. So why are you avoiding training? Then if you want belt, you must engage in the training. But if you don't train, there's no belt for you. So they said, there's a saying that, if you don't have challenge, if you don't have obstacles, then there's no way you can get to the success, to be successful. So it is all about embracing your challenges. It is all about developing yourself. It's all about, working up yourself. Like I said in the book I read some time ago, the communication impact. It's saying that one of the quotes I got from there is that all of us are born equal, but some people work up their image. Working up their image are people who transform themselves, who change their mind, who change the old ways of thinking, the old ways of doing things. The problem is that we brought limitation to ourselves through our thinking. If I said I want to be a president, some people were laughing. I said, why are you laughing? Are you laughing that it's not possible? If it's not possible for you, it's possible for me. I don't have a sense of limitation. My imagination guides me. So I have the power to imagine what I want to imagine, and I have the power to achieve what I want to achieve. So your limited thinking, your mindset, limited mindset you have, you do not have to apply it to me. I have a different mindset. Like I said, I have to believe in my potential. And I have to have faith in my God. And then that's all I need. I don't need your money. What I need is to develop myself, develop my thinking, and then I'm up and running. Like I do tell you, God has made you God. He has given the law of demands that God gives you everything. So it's your choice to believe it. If you don't believe it, you're right. If you believe it, you're also right. So, but the thing is, you're wasting your belief. Believing that you cannot do something, you're wasting it. Why not believe you can do it? So I might as well believe I can be a president. It's wasting my belief. Why not believe I can be and then work towards it? The same thing applies to you. So we are not limited in any way. Any mind that is telling you are limited, that is satanic. That is evil. That is an immature mind. A human being has no limitation. Hear it from me. Because God has no limitation and you are a child of God, you should not have limitation. So, no sense of limitation. Whatever you want to do, get on with it. Sorry. Sorry. So, no sense of limitation. So, if you are limiting yourself, that is your problem. A lot of people, they limit themselves and then they want to limit their neighbor. They want to limit their brother. They want to limit everybody. This is pure nonsense. So, don't allow anybody to limit you. Don't allow anybody to talk you down. If you don't like me, that's okay. I'm not interested in whether you like me or not because I'm here for a purpose. My purpose is to do what I've seen my father does. What that means, doing the good thing, doing the good work. Because we've been freed. We've been freed. And I don't know why we're still in bondage. So if you're still in bondage, that's your own business. So transformation is very, very important because you can't become a leader without being transformed. The problem is that we have leaders in the country, everywhere, but they are not transformed. They are still being controlled by their appetite. They are still being controlled by power. They are still being controlled by money. As they say in one advert or whatever somebody says that we are going where the money resides. We are going where the money resides. It's the money that determines where we're going, where the money resides. Where the money resides. So where the money resides is what. So it's this kind of thinking that we're trying to avoid, trying to change. You know, they are only interested in where the money resides because they don't know that there are other things bigger and stronger and more important than money. You know, so you're still thinking about money. You've not ever conquered yourself. So if you are given 10 billion to work for a project, let's say to build a road or to electrify the place, you put it in your pocket because you've not been transformed. You've not been tested with money. You've not handled that money before. Emotionally, you start feeling that the best way is to steal it. So all these things are why we're having a lot of problems because we have leaders who are not leaders. We have leaders that are not up to the task. They are not, they cannot step up to the standard. But you've forgotten that God said, look, you are the salt of the earth. A salt means you are the standard. You are to set the standard. You are to preserve and set the standard. That's why you are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. That means solution to the world's problem, you have it. So if we are the solution, then why are we afraid? If we are the solution to the world problem, why are we shying away from being who God has created us? Why are we allowing people to influence us in a negative way? Why do we have to, say, I have to get a degree in order to change my life? I have to be educated in their own sense to be great. All these things they are teaching you, they are limiting you. So you don't need anything to be great because you've been made great. You are the solution from your mother's womb. What you need to do is to be introspective, break the bonds, and then come out. We have the whole power in the universe is within us. Don't allow insecurity of other people to put you in a difficult position. Don't allow anybody to patronize you. Whether you're a woman, whether a male or female, you don't have to do that. Imagine, look at the world we are running today. We patronize our women. We diminish their power, because of the thinking. Because our thinking is, it's been poisoned. The thinking that is poisoned is this one that I'm asking you now to break away from. Break away the pattern of this thinking that, look, you are better than another person, or the other person is less of a person than you. So that thinking is evil. It is satanic. And that is what is taking over the places today. That's why we have Black Lives Matter. Because so many people have allowed satanic thinking, like, to believe that the people of different color are less educated, less intelligent. These things are not, they are not proper thinking. Or because of gender, the woman is not as strong as the man, the woman. That kind of thinking is what we should avoid all the time. And that is why we're saying transformation is the key. Until you transform your mind, then you cannot limit, until you transform your mind, you'll be limiting others. And in the process of limiting others, you are limiting yourself. If I'm limiting you, I'm also limiting myself, because I am telling you that this thing cannot be done. And also, that way I'm saying it, that is applies to me. So you shouldn't have any sense of limitation, because your imagination is the key. Your belief empowers you. Stop living a life of mediocrity. Stop living a life of poverty. Stop living a life of begging and penury and feeling a victim. Why will you be a victim? It's because you've not transformed your mind. It's because you don't know you can make a difference. You don't know you are God. You don't know that God has given you himself. You don't know that what you touch should improve. You don't know that you are the light of the world. You are a salt. Like I said, a salt means you are to set the standard. You are to draw a line and say, look at how it is going to be. And are we doing that? We're not doing that. Are we providing solution to our problem? We're not. We don't know that we are the light of the world. You are a mustard seed. You must impart. So, because as soon as you've transformed yourself, you start imparting the people. You start imparting people around you. You start imparting the children, imparting everybody. By the time you know it, you infect everybody with passion, love, and strength. Instead of negativity, hatred, cowardice, wickedness, all these things are negative things. We should get rid of them. So our mind is the garden. So whatever you put in your mind, that is what comes out. So if you put a limitation in your mind, that means you can move forward. That means you cannot, you cannot assume your full potential. You can't be great. So the essence of this video today is to tell you, look, you can be great. To tell you, look, stop limiting yourself. Stop making mockery of yourself. Stop saying you can't do it. Stop saying you can't do that, because you can do it. You are stronger. You are wiser. You are more powerful. You are gifted, and yet you are crying. Yet you don't believe it. So the problem is not people outside. The problem is you. The problem is that because that is what you are thinking. You see, we are a reflection of our thinking, not the reflection of what people are saying. Reflection of ourselves. So I am the reflection of my thinking. So because I'm the reflection of my thinking, that makes me not to define myself. Everything in life defines itself. So if you're not defining yourself, you are making a great mistake. You are being like a child. It's this immaturity for you not to define yourself. Defining yourself to say, stand up and say, this is where I am. This is what I can do. And that's it. You got to stand up. One moment. Everything God created defines itself. Even cities, they define themselves. Like, there was a time in Mbise, they brought in a priest from other places. Meanwhile, they have a lot of priests there. They have everything that they brought it in. Mbise people decided to say, look, we're not gonna accept that. We possess, in fact, when it comes to priesthood, almost we have 10 times more than any other place in the world. And then we have great reverend fathers, people who can do great things. And then you are importing a reverend father for them to become their bishop. They said no. And people were saying, why shouldn't they say that? If you are saying that, you see, I love the way the NBC people define themselves. They said, look, you can bring us any other thing, but not priesthood. We have a lot of reverend fathers who are PhD holders, who are professors, who are very knowledgeable, who are leaders, who are great people in different fields. And then you are not allowing us to make the selection ourselves. You are imposing yourself on us. They said no. That day, I knew that NBC people define themselves. So you got to define yourself. You can't come into my house and dictate how I'm going to live. It's not possible. I have to dictate how I'm going to keep my family. I have to dictate the kind of life I'm going to live. So life is about your capacity, having the courage to define yourself. Now, the water, the ocean, the river defines itself. Once a river sets us where it's going, no matter the obstacle, it goes wherever it wants to go. You can delay the river, but it will still go where you want to go. So don't allow anybody to tell you, to dictate to you what you want to be. Because what information they have about you is wrong. So evidence and every teaching shows that the information people have about you, the information is wrong. The data is wrong. Everything they say about you is wrong. So the kind of perception and information you have about me is absolutely wrong. I might be a president, but you're looking at me as a mediocre. You're looking at me as a poor person. You're looking at me as, you understand? The information people have about you is wrong. It is something you have to reject. So that's why defining yourself is important. So if you can't define yourself, you are not doing the right thing. The right thing is that wherever you go, define yourself. Because if you don't define yourself, others will define you. They will give you what is the crumbs. And then that is not who you are. We know of a story of Joseph. The father saw Joseph as a fine son. That means that was the definition the father gave to Joseph. The brothers saw Joseph as a wicked person. That's the definition the brothers saw about him. Potiphar saw Joseph as a fine servant. That was his definition. Then Potiphar's wife saw Joseph as a potential boyfriend. That's the definition. But God saw Joseph as the prime minister of Egypt. That is who he is. So your ability to interact with God will help you to define yourself. So the definition you have about your son is wrong. You can't define your son. Then the definition of your friends have about you is always wrong. The definitions they have are wrong. So nobody can define you. You can't be put in a pigeonhole. You can't pigeonhole me, for goodness sake. I see a lot of people, they pigeonhole other people. They say, look at who you are. Look at that. That is nonsense. That is immaturity. That is stupidity. We are not supposed to define anybody because you don't know them. You don't know me. You only see me on Facebook talking, but you don't know me. So you can't define me. So I cannot define even my wife. My wife has to define herself. My children, they have to define themselves. So I am not their maker. I never created them. No human being creates a human being. So why are you defining them? Why are you owning them? Why are you placing a limitation on them? Through your hatred, through your attitude, through your behavior. That is the way we limit our brothers. That's the way we define our brother. But that is absolutely wrong. Even in Brixton here in London decided to define itself. They told him, like, look, this is how it's going to be. One day the Brixton rioted and they said, look at who we are. So I am not going to be put in a cage. If you want people to put in a cage, that's all right. I can't allow anybody to put me in a cage. And I don't wish to put anybody in a cage. So that's why I keep on talking every day. Because I cannot be put in a cage. And I don't want you to put me in a cage. I don't want to put you in a cage either. So it's 1-1. So don't put anybody in a cage. Don't limit anybody, because we are not meant to be limited. I do tell my children, so you must have a sense of no limitation. You shouldn't limit yourself. You shouldn't allow your colleagues, your peers, or your friends to limit you. Any of my friend that wants to limit me, I say, go away. Don't tell me that. I've had series of friends, they limited me. I said, look, to hell with you. I'm not interested. Because you are not my God. Like Joseph, all the whole people limited him. All the whole people saw him differently, rather than what he saw about himself and how God has placed him. So all of them were wrong. The same way applies to you. People's definition of you, their definitions are wrong. People's the eyes, how they perceive you, they're wrong. Don't allow them. Defy the critics. I'm always defying critics. If you say I cannot do it, I will do it, because I know the power I possess. I know that you are not God. I know that you don't possess the power to limit me, and I'm not going to accept it. So the good thing is that I can hear what you're saying, but I'm not going to accept it. So my subconscious is not going to allow it. So I might hear it with my conscious mind, but my subconscious will reject it. I have the capacity to reject any knowledge, and I have the capacity to accept any knowledge. So all is left for me. So the way you are today is the choice you've made, because you've allowed your people to limit you. You have allowed your friends to limit you. You have allowed your wife to limit you. You allow your husband to limit you. You shouldn't have any sense of limitation, because God created you in his own image. And you cannot be limited. You cannot be defined.